Just not going to work like that. But now, I love the Periscope people and the YouTube people because I assume that they can hear me. What's going on, everybody? Thursday, December 12th, 12/12. That seems like it'll be good luck for me in some way. We've got a 4-game NBA slate today. And if you look below me, that's not Adam. Upgrade today. Ben Rasa filling in for Adam as he makes his way to Puerto Rico to not play DFS for 4 days, apparently. That should be a blast. Ben, what's up?
Hello. Yeah. Adam taking a little vacation, proxy life, which is never a bad thing. So I'm sure he'll have a good time. It feels like Friday. I'm confused already about this show. It really feels like Friday to me.
I got that feeling yesterday, and I was like, oh, this is going to be great. You know, there's some stuff I want to watch on TV. I'm going to get a little after the Live Before Lock show, sit down, relax, watch some stuff. And I was like, oh, it's just Wednesday. No. I got to wake up tomorrow and do the same thing I just did today all over again. And I didn't wake up with substantially more money in my account. So it wasn't even like a fun way to wake up.
No, that's never fun. I was up watching the President's Cup in the golf world, but now I'm here. At least, you know, what is your feeling? I wanted to ask you this before the show. We were just talking about other things. Do you like smaller slates like this, or are you more of like, give me a 10 to 12 type game?
So it depends. The worker in me prefers a day of a 4-game slate because I just simply have to do less.
Yeah,
less prep, less like it's easier to put together cheat sheets. I put less time into figuring out rotations and stuff. I just save myself individual time. So on that end, big fan. I would rather like an 8 or 9 game slate, so long as there isn't stupid value, like when Gordon Hayward is the flat minimum or something. I want it to be a little bit more difficult to make your lineups. The less obvious decisions, the better. So I like more teams and more possible combinations, so long as there aren't like 80% owned chalk guys.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable take, and I'm pretty much in line with you. There becomes, I'll say, especially with NBA for me, there's a limit. Like if it's 14 games, God, that's a little too much for me. I don't love it. But yeah, I would much rather have, you know, the middle ground where it's not overwhelming on either front. This is towards the bottom, but at the same time, you know, you got 4. Honestly, the matchups to me are worse than just having 4 games. I don't really like these games individually.
Not a big Spurs Cavs fan?
Not at the top of the list. I mean, obviously Sixers Celtics is a great game. Yeah. Just not a great fantasy game.
Nuggets Blazers could have been like a really good basketball game. Blazers just not that sort of team this year. Yeah, Celtics Sixers is great if you're just looking to entertain yourself with quality basketball. Not exactly a stellar DFS spot. Cavs are atrocious. Spurs aren't much better, and somehow they're 10-point favorites in this spot, which is just a testament to how bad Cleveland is. We'll get into all of that in a bit. First and foremost, shout out to Yahoo Sports for being the presenting sponsor of this show. If you head to Emacs Cash Building Blocks article, which I'm going to drop into chat right now, and done. Read the article first, obviously, and then click the link at the bottom to sign up at Yahoo if you're interested. Use the promo code AWESEMO and get up to $30 in YSRPs. That's Yahoo Sports Rewards points. You can use those to enter any contest you would like. They're running lower management fee contests. They run their baller every day for the NBA. They run one every Sunday for the NFL. It's the only place that you can become a baller. I love that we have that little slogan now. Shout out to Laffy for that one. You're going to play, 10 maxes, softer competition. It's a really great place to play. We've got ownership for it. So if you're interested in dipping your toe into the Yahoo water, please follow that link. And then if you just want to sign up with us, NBA Strategy, one big word, that's the promo code, 50% off your first month with us. If you're not using that promo code right now, might not be around in the next day or two. So if you're looking to check us out, use that promo code NBA Strategy for 50% off. And Josh said, or Conscious Machine said, Josh Osman. Yeah, so I had some Chetty last night. was looking really good for the first 6 minutes. Got off to a nice start of rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, and then he played 19 total minutes for the game in a game that the Cavs like stayed in the entire time. They basically just played everybody like 24 minutes.
I saw that. Yeah, competitive game. And it was coming off a string of blowouts, so you figured could have been a good spot. No dice, but yeah, Chetty back on the slate. We'll be talking about him. I do have interest in him.
Yeah, I'm sure I do too.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
It's hard not to.
I don't want to.
No. Nope.
Highest scoring player yesterday, 80.75 points for James Harden. Seems to be the only thing I got right yesterday was having a lot of Harden. I mentioned Kemba Walker a couple times. Certainly didn't take my own advice. So that didn't help. Marcus Morris finally woke up. Came a day late. Draymond Green, back-to-back big games. Devontae Graham, another big one.
That guy is, I mean, what out of nowhere? Is that fair to say, out of nowhere?
Yes. I mean, so here's the question. It's two-pronged. I think that like he was always going to be a nice rotation piece. The question lies in, is he actually good, or is he just the guy on one of the worst teams in basketball?
So my thing, and maybe it's because I'm dangerously biased, I really thought the Hornets were going to be awful. If they were like, 4-20, I would be kind of leaning in that thing. But they're not. I mean, they're not a great team. They're not even a good team. But they're not the worst team in the league either. And for that, I have to give him specifically a lot of credit.
They are currently projected to be the second worst team in the East at the end of the season, based on 538's projections. They would also have the second worst record in the league. Maybe they are
going over the win total, though. I can tell you that from a better standpoint.
So they are currently 11-16, 6 games clear of the Knicks and the Cavs. Here's the testament to 538's projections. The Hornets have 11 wins. The Cavs have 5. They are projecting them to have the same amount of wins at the end of the season. They're projecting the Hornets to go 14-41 for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I bet under their win total at the beginning of the year, and it was 23.5. So not looking good right now.
You didn't parlay that with Atalanta, did you?
No. I probably should have, just to wipe it out.
Sorry, too soon.
Immediately. But that's another story for another time. So we'll see. But yeah, Devontae Graham just been fantastic.
Yeah, I have no negative for him. Let's see. How has he been in player impact plus minus? My stat du jour. Take a look quick. Then we'll take a look at MJK Betts' $100,000 winning lineup yesterday. A lot of gross at the top. 6 lineups, 1 lineup, 5, 1, 3, 1, 1, 1, 1. If you're ever curious, how a slate played out, take a look at how many lineups were played in the top 25 scores. You'll know whether or not it was a weird one.
Yep.
Well, I guess I'm not going to check out player impact plus minus. That just simply won't load. So, sorry, basketball index.
Come on shows. I told you.
You're breaking everything. Highest value play of the day yesterday. 354 of 39,000 lineups. Thad Young, 11.6x. We also got Ilyasova north of 10. Marquise Chris, who was in 39 lineups. Congrats for that one, Marquise. Marcus Morris, Kevin Porter, Denzel Valentine. Those were the best value plays, just like we all assumed they would be. Not quite. So, winning lineup. This is 100K. Draymond Green, D'Angelo Russell, Marcus Morris, Ersan Ilyasova, Julius Randle, Alec Burks, Chris Middleton, your boy, Devontae Graham.
You see?
Nothing too crazy there.
No, not. I mean, of course you're hitting. No surprise you're hitting on everything. You're finding massive, Ilyasova multiplier, but nothing like outrage, like not Marquise Chris style, that's for sure.
Right. Most owned player on the slate yesterday was Chris Middleton, 63%. Bledsoe was at 61%. You check out the 150 maxers. That was 76% for Bledsoe, 71% for Middleton. Ersan Ilyasova at 55% was third. So not too crazy. Kyle Lowry at 46 for the 150 max. He was only 32% owned for the entire tournament. Put up 23 fantasy points. And that's the big testament. If you want to know how a slate actually played out, find the guys that have the biggest differential between the 150 max guys' ownership and the aggregate ownership for the entire contest. In this case, 32% for Lowry, jumps all the way to 46, and he bageled. Stuff like that is going to be the reason you see a lot of single lineups and 2 lineup guys making it to the top, and you'll see the 150 max guys just absolutely getting bludgeoned, which is what happened.
It happens.
Yep. Yeah. Certainly does.
No doubt about it. You see it in every sport. There are, I don't want to say outlier weeks, but there's just crazy days and weird stuff happens when massive chalk like that possibly deviates. The MME guys, some of those portfolios are basically completely wiped out. You're going to get a lot of one-off type single bullet lineups.
Yeah. And that is exactly what happened yesterday.
See, I bring the super chats, though. I break things behind the scenes, but I bring the super chats.
Derek Burns in the house. F the Knicks. Thanks for the awesome advice, guys. They screwed me the night before last. Yeah, I hear they got a lot of us. I
hear your pain as a New Yorker here.
I know they got Adam. We didn't talk about it. Well, I guess Adam and I probably would have talked about it. So we were talking about our optimal lineups. This was just in Slack. I gave Adam mine. It had Randall, RJ Barrett, and Marcus Morris. Adam showed his, and then he was like, I just made like 2 tweaks to Melo's rates and somebody else. Comes back, runs his optimal. It is the exact same lineup as mine.
That's amazing.
Ends up that all 3 of those Knicks get beat by 40. They play 25 minutes, and that optimal lineup ate it pretty bad.
Wish you had company.
Yeah. Xandru Vlad, Josh, saw you were winning 5K off a lineup for a sec. Yeah, at one point in time, I guess I was in 3rd in the shot, or whatever the hell it's called on FanDuel. So that was 10K. That was around 10:40 Eastern time. I, at that point, was asleep for about an hour, so I never knew. Someone tagged me in Slack. Spoiler alert, didn't finish there.
Those are never... I've had that a couple times with NFL Showdown. You wake up, I log into Slack, and I have a couple messages, DMs that just say, like, good luck, buddy, hope you hold. And you're like, oh, yeah, this is my moment. Then you log in, and you're like, well, obviously I didn't hold. And then you slowly realize that probably around 10:30 you were doing some work. But that's where you need the cash out option. That would be helpful.
Yeah. So I try not to look at anything. First thing I do, I can't totally see when I'm getting up. So that first 10 seconds, I look at my iPhone, it unlocks. I tap the NBA.com app, and I go through all the box scores of all the games that happened after that I went to sleep, just to see who popped off and to see if it was any of the guys that I know would be really beneficial to me. Then back into FanDuel, where I cover the bottom of the screen with my finger. I am preaching to the guy that sweats things out by covering up the screen constantly. So I am. This is music to Ben's ears.
It's true.
Cover up the screen with my finger so I can't see my balance. Shout out to Draftkings for not showing the balance immediately, so you don't have to do that kind of garbage. I have to cover it up. I wonder if they just need a setting so I can't see it immediately. Let me tap it. Anyway, then I hop into the lowest dollar 150 that I enter, since I know what number I need to see like if I broke even or not. And if that number is like monstrous, it's like, okay, now I can go check the other stuff, the stuff that I think could actually win some money. And yeah, that didn't happen.
Yep, I'm very similar. I'm definitely a slow squeezer. Whether it's with the balance, you'd hope that there's a new number in front, obviously.
Yeah.
I do that with box scores, as you know, Josh, after shows. I slow squeeze Texas Arlington last night, needed them against Houston doing some things. But yeah, it's all about the slow squeeze. That's what we preach around here.
Just got tagged by T McBee in Slack that I can turn off seeing the balance in the settings on the app. So he says, T McBee, how the hell do I do that?
See, that's why we have the best, most knowledgeable subs. I don't have, so another thing while you're doing that, I'm a rarity. I don't have anything on my phone at all.
Yo, I did it. You just,
what?
Basically the same way that I just explained it. I was like, oh, I wish I could like tap it or something and it would go away. Sure as shit. tap that stuff and it goes away. Maybe
Look
it
at
would have been
that.
good if I just, tried that.
Nah, not wave. Josh, you got a good question in chat for you, and it's certainly not for me.
Michael Driscoll, $9.99 super chat. Thank you very much. Hell of a way to start off the day. Josh, do you set exposure for all players in the Slate and FC Pro or just your core? Been struggling with getting 150 lineups after setting exposures. Am I setting too many? Thanks, Motorbike Mike. Motorbike Mike. That's 2 days in a row. I think it was 2 days in a row. 2 super chats from Mike recently, both times saying Motorbike Mike tripped me up. Anyway, yes, I set exposures for every single player that is in my player pool. The key that you need to remember, depending on which site you're playing, if you're playing on FanDuel, you need to make sure that your exposures are totaling north of 200% for each position, except for center. It's a little bit less than that since you only play one. So right away, you need to know that that number is higher than 200. Usually, you're looking for a little bit of wiggle room to make sure FC can still work. So I usually try to get to like 220, 230, or it's a big slate and it's miles above that and I don't have to worry about it. On DraftKings, you're going to need the aggregate total to be north of 800, since basically everybody can play four or five different spots. You can pretty much just treat it as one big group. So, if you can get to like 900 aggregate exposure, that's probably going to be enough for FC to be able to still crunch out. But my recommendation is if it stops after like 20, 25 lines, incrementally increase that. Let's say that you had someone let's just say that you knew the total was like 750. Then you just want to multiply all of those guys by like 1.1 or 1.2 or 1.3 just to raise those caps.
Good stuff.
Slow squeeze, more cowbell. That's our third guy. That's friend our third super chat. Yes, very much. Friend of the show, friend of the site. Actually don't really know how to say that. So, Kiefer?
Why I just say friend of the show because I have no idea. I know his name, Dave. Good guy.
I didn't even know it was Dave.
There we go. Watch, it's not, and then I'll have to delete myself. But
yeah, good Dave with the
yeah
with the super chat. We appreciate it.
We really do.
Okay. So it should be D Kiefer. Okay, so you dropped the E from your own last name.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay, we're getting things. We're cutting through the red tape on the show.
Yeah, we are. Josh, get a Pistons hat. I don't really need a Pistons hat. I mean, I'd get a Pistons hat, but I don't really have any Pistons gear.
Hats. I wear a Rangers beanie when it's freezing out.
I'm rocking the Spurs hat right now.
Old school Spurs, I respect that.
Yeah. Player impact plus minus is up now. Let's see. Charlotte, number 1 player on the Hornets this year. That's not Charlotte. They use the CHO the same way I do. Admiral Schofield's showing up too.
Old Hornets jersey. I should wear that on the show one day. The old Larry Johnson with the baller colors. One day I'll just go straight penny on this show.
I have a really good old school Larry Johnson t-shirt.
Yeah, it's
all
good stuff.
Old pictures, grandmama in that teal. Pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yep.
If that's good, Dave, is Evil Dave the one who drops nasty food screenshots? Yes.
Can confirm.
Yeah, Devontae Graham smoking everyone else on the Hornets, worth 2.8 wins. Only other person with like a reasonable number, only other person above 0.9 is PJ Washington at 1.1. Miles Bridges, on the other hand, been worth negative 1.3 wins. He's got a negative 4.9 player impact plus minus. Rough.
Yeesh.
Rough. See, we have enough time for Gamer to talk about all sorts of nonsense today.
Oh, it's true. We're going to get into some stuff centered around these games. But yeah, it is kind of nice that there's just not that much with 4 games, which is part of the reason, just to go back to what we were talking about, in all short slates. If you have a 12 gamer and you leave someone off and they're 4% and they have a big night, you can work around that. That's why I really don't like short slates, because if you miss, most likely the guy's like 15, 20% owned, even if he's not popular, relatively speaking. And that just makes it so hard to recover on a slate like this.
It really does. You can't.
I hate that. No.
If there's a guy that's 15% owned and he is, I don't know, decent from a value perspective, it doesn't even have to break the slate, but like if he is up there, you're probably going to struggle to win that particular contest. It just makes it so much harder. You don't have any like saving grace after that. It's tricky.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get into this if you want.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll dive right in. Why not?
Boston Celtics, Philadelphia 76ers. Celtics 1.5 point favorites in Boston. Ownership right now. 4 guys for the Celtics are in double digits on both sites. Nobody else is in double digits on either site. And the guy that I like the most isn't in double digits at all. So this should be fun. Kemba Walker, monster game yesterday. $7,700 on FanDuel and DK. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward. All of these guys in double digits in ownership. You can sort of go either direction depending on which site you're playing on. Is there a guy in that foursome that stands out most to you?
So I guess the first thing, let's just get it. So Hayward, Q tag, gonna play.
Yeah, so I guess he like busted up his face yesterday.
Yeah, it was I think it says a nose.
I have him in for right now. Who the hell knows?
Yeah.
I also have Marcus Smart in as well.
So that's the thing. If I kind of lean that way too. If they both sat, it would create a whole laundry list of
yes.
Problems would be the word I would use, but it would be also, I guess, value. Kemba, I mean, big game yesterday. Price, particularly on FanDuel, I thought stood out a bit. He's not going to be shooting 16 to 28 each and every night. That's for sure. I can confirm that, but I don't mind him on a slate where, we're going to have some value, particularly, or, not value. We're going to be paying up, particularly at center, I think, for a lot of teams, but you can still absolutely afford a guy like Kemba. I'm kind of indifferent to someone like Tatum or Brown, but do you have strong takes on kind of the wing players?
So I like Brown for 6,700 a lot more than I like, and that's for FanDuel, a lot more than I like Tatum for 8K. I think they're a little closer on DraftKings, but I think there's a bit too big of a gap on FanDuel. So I would lean more towards Brown. Obviously, they're 2 guys that you have to have some sort of exposure to on a slate like this. Hard to just skip out on, 2 30-something minute wings on a 4-gamer. But I would give the lean to Brown. I have Gordon Hayward, if he is in, pretty comparable to Brown. So Tatum, I guess, would be my least favorite play. And if Marcus Smart is in, he would be my least favorite play.
Yeah, I don't like Smart either. I'm just guessing here, but I feel like Smart has a better chance to sit. I don't know what's up with his, but it feels like if one of them is going to sit, it's going to be Smart.
Yeah, I don't know how quickly you can get a mask if you break your nose. That would be my only concern. Like, they just don't have that yet. I don't know how quick. Like, I assume they try to get that like molded to your face.
I was about to say it's custom. It's got to be, right? It's not
probably
like
3D print them now. Maybe.
See, that's advanced. I don't know. No idea.
Look, I just assume Gordon Hayward plays unless it's like really fucked up.
I mean, I guess we'll see. That's going to, I mean, do you want to talk about what would happen? I mean, like Brad Wanamaker, is that a thing if they both sat?
Yeah. So if Gordon Hayward and Marcus Smart somehow are both out, Brad Wanamaker is going to become one of the most popular. He will be the most popular value play of the day. I think Carson Edwards probably sniffs like a decent chunk of minutes. Demi comes into play as a potential value option. But Brad Wanamaker, chalk day, would be the one showing up big time. I mean, even just with Marcus Smart out, like Wanamaker's played 22 and 24 minutes in the last 2. He played 19 in the game that Smart missed on December 4th. So I would guess Wanamaker would see, his minutes jump to around 30. I would think that Semi would be pretty close as well. You might see a couple extra minutes for someone like Grant Williams. I need to look at something. I might know why the guy that I'm getting a bunch of pulled out for Wednesday's game. Okay, that's probably my issue. We'll get to it. Yeah, Brad Wanamaker would become the guy. And then, I mean, Kemba's just going to look significantly better at 7,700 on both sites. Like, all of those guys that are still playing, the Walker, Tatum, Browns, incrementally become better just because there's less talent on the floor, so they're going to try to do more.
Yeah, usage bump. So I mean, the minutes are solid anyway, but they would be even further solidified. And then I guess, for me, it's interesting. This is just a side note. Both of these teams undefeated at home. So I'm interested to see what Boston can do here. Yeah, they both have really held serve on their home court. The front court, they're going to be tasked with slowing Embiid, obviously. I guess it's a good thing in the sense if you can avoid foul trouble, you're going to get that run. But do you worry about the bigs for Boston's ability to slow him?
Well, I don't think they have a chance.
Yeah.
Honestly, those aren't those kind of bigs. I mean, it's certainly not Kanter, even though Kanter, obviously a legitimate center from a size perspective. Bit of a turnstile defensively, but I don't have Time Lord in right now. He's missed his last 2, I believe. It might be 3. Let me just double check that. He's missed the last 2. Not like he's playing big minutes either way. This is a back-to-back for Boston. So for right now, I'm leaving him out until we hear otherwise. I have Tyson for 24 minutes, and if that's the case, he is 4,300 on FanDuel, 4K on DraftKings. Daniel Theis, given the makeup of the slate right now, is my favorite Celtic.
Yeah, when you alluded earlier, I was interested to see if that's who you're talking about. I mean, the thing here, he is on DraftKings power forward and center eligible, which I think is important because you only have a finite amount of center spots, and there's a lot of guys. When we talk about Embiid, Drummond is on the slate, Joker's on the slate. But yeah, if you're going to get that type of run, he's going to be tasked with slowing them. We'll get to Horford on the other side in a minute. I don't mind that. I certainly prefer him over a guy like Kanter in this spot.
Same. It wouldn't shock me if they tried to give Kanter more minutes, but
I think that will be wildly ineffective, to be honest.
I actually might need to give Kanter even more minutes here. If this strikes me as a spot where they're going to need to split all 48 minutes between Theis and Kanter. Yesterday, they played 40 together. Grant Williams, I'm assuming, picked up the other 7. Yep, Grant Williams got the other 8. Ooh, that's going to be tough in this spot. You can make a case for both guys from Boston. Just don't play Theis and Kanter together.
No, don't do that. Yeah, I mean, they're cheap enough where, of course, if one of them gets early foul trouble or there's just a reason one of them is rolling, we could see the scales tip. I just think when you're looking at the Sixers on the other side here, to me, Theis is my preferred option if I'm paying up for one of the Boston bigs.
Okay. Anything else you want to touch on from Boston?
No, not really. I think Boston is one of the few teams we'll have to wait and see. I think most people agree with what you're saying, and I'm in your camp too, that Hayward and Smart most likely going to play. But if for some reason they are sitting, that's going to change things, particularly with Brad Wanamaker, as everybody already knows.
Which the slate needs some value for sure, but if Marcus Smart can play, this is the type of game where Marcus Smart's just wrap that a little tighter or something. I want to be out there against Philly. Marcus Smart's a dog, and
he certainly is.
If he's not out there, I think that's a testament to how sick or how injured he is. Because this is the one that he wants.
Yeah, it's an eye infection.
Oh, is it? I thought he had a hand injury. Who am I thinking of? Yeah, eye and illness. I don't know. Ignore me then. Obviously.
No, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know. That's such an odd injury that I'm not exactly sure what to make of that.
Yeah, for some reason I thought he had an injured hand. I don't know who I'm picturing now.
I mean, that guy's perpetually banged up. But
true. All right, Philly side. The 5 starters, including Josh Richardson, who is priced down to 4,400 on FanDuel. They are all roughly 20% owned. Jay Rich at 5,300 on DraftKings, not getting there, but they are all roughly 20% owned there as well. The only real question regarding that is how many minutes will Jay Rich play? He played 19 minutes on Tuesday in the return. I gave him 28 in this spot, which makes him a fantastic value. And at 4,400, you can pretty much justify him on FanDuel regardless. What stands out most to you, though, from Philly?
Well, that's a question. If you can accurately peg his minutes, that's going to determine I think you can basically make a case for him no matter what. But if you have him in that type of minute role, to me, it's one of the better plays out there. And then you have a guy like Ben Simmons. He's comparable in price to Kemba, especially on DraftKings. You've got, of course, Embiid, premier center spot. And then it's really Horford. Horford, looking at his minutes, if you kind of just try to visualize it, it looks like, he's in the, low 30s. Half of those, maybe, a little less, will be without Embiid, where he can play center. Those are obviously the minutes he needs to do the most damage with in this spot. So I don't mind him at I think, a really good price tag at 5,900 on DraftKings.
Okay. Yeah, better price on DraftKings than he has on FanDuel. He's 6,900 on FanDuel. I can get away from that. Ignoring that Jay Rich price, I'd say that I like Embiid most on FanDuel at 10K. Ben Simmons close behind at 8,300. On DraftKings, $7,600 Ben Simmons in this spot feels good. Obviously, not a great matchup. I'm actually going to have more exposure to this game than I thought I would.
I mean, we haven't really talked about the 4 games as a whole, but there's not one game where it's like, all right, this game is an outlier in a good way. These are pretty bad games all around. So even I almost said Eagles, Sixers, Celtics type game, you could load up if you wanted to, and I wouldn't think it's that crazy.
Yeah, like I think overall Embiid is the guy that I want the most from Philly. Both from just a raw perspective, I think the price is good, and he's got a cupcake matchup. So I want to get there.
Yeah, I like Horford in the spot. I am mostly looking with a DraftKings lens, to be honest. But at 5,900 there, I think, like I said, the minutes he will get without Embiid on the floor, he can do some real damage against those bigs.
Right now, it just seems like because of the lack of value, we've just got this gigantic pack of guys projected between like 15 and 25%, which is really tricky and makes me way more excited about the slate, knowing that nothing stands out. I like the Horford call though. He's probably my second favorite DK guy.
Yeah, and it comes down to, again, you have Simmons, you have Kemba, and we'll see. Obviously, we talk about this on every slate. And I'll go back to Brad Wanamaker for a second. If he opens up and he becomes, massive chalk at a dirt price, it's going to directly impact the ownership of some of these top end guys, because you're just going to be able to jam Luka or one of the big centers that much easier.
Oh, the way this looks right now, even if just Marcus Smart is out and you project Brad Wanamaker for 24 minutes, he's going to be a massive value. If Gordon Hayward happened to be out as well, I mean, Brad Wanamaker is going to end up being like 70% owned.
Yeah, absolutely. And as he probably should be, it changes the entire dynamic of the slate. It
really does. Any interest in any of the goons that aren't starters for Philly?
Not really. I mean, it's 4 games, so if you're making not just a few teams, you're probably going to have a couple fringe guys here and there, but not really. I think we talked about. I think you can make a case for most of the Sixers starters, so there's not a huge need to find the value there, particularly.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't need anybody in that Furkan Korkmaz, James Ennis, Thibault trio. I'm good on that one.
No, with Richards, it's just too hard to decipher.
Yeah. Somebody just said Tony Snell going off. That should be fun. Ted to San Antonio, said no one ever. Spurs 114.25 implied total. Cavs 104.25. 10-point favorites in Cleveland, and it's not as like the Spurs are particularly good this season. One thing to point out: DeJounte Murray likely not on a minutes limit anymore. I still have him in for 25 because I just wanted to see how that looked, but he played north of 30 in their most recent game. It did go to overtime, but here's the quote from Pop regarding Murray. As far as I'm concerned, nobody scolded me or anything like that afterwards, said Pop when asked about Murray's minutes. So I think we're good. Greg Popovich implied after DeJounte Murray logged 32 minutes on Friday that he is no longer on a minutes limit. So if that's the case, he's going to be incredibly popular. Anything north of 25 minutes is going to make him show up in a ton of lineups. He's already my favorite play on San Antonio, just giving him 25. This is a fantastic spot for, well, everybody. Cleveland's defense, 13% worse than average on a per possession basis for allowing fantasy points.
Yeah, that's not good.
Dead last in the league.
Murray, so it's interesting. That was an overtime game. More interesting to me is why they've had. Do you see when that game was played? It's been a while.
Yeah, Friday.
For the old Spurs. Yeah, like that's crazy to me. Clearly, I don't think in a perfect world they want to push him north of 30 in a non-OT game, but we know they can do that. So it's there, and like I said, or like you said, rather, 25. Even if that's the minutes he sees at this price tag, it's an easy buy for me. He is my favorite Spur. After that, you have the usual suspects. I wouldn't fault anyone if they told me they had interest in a guy like Aldridge or DeRozan, but I don't also see myself making them a priority, even on a 4-gamer.
Yeah, so 41% owned DeMar DeRozan on FanDuel at 8,200. He is 27% owned on DK. Similarly, Aldridge at 32 on FanDuel, 24 on DraftKings. I prefer DeRozan to Aldridge, so I guess I'm holding hands with the public there, but they don't strike me as the guys that I want to hitch my wagon to, except for the fact that you look at it and think, oh, they play Cleveland, which is an incredibly big benefit.
It is. To me, though, like I said, I don't know if it's another team where, you have Murray, you have the two, they're big weapons. I don't see a ton else there. Cleveland is the side where I see a lot of potential YOLO type plays and guys that you can take some shots with.
We've got a couple other guys we need to touch on for San Antonio. Rudy Gay in double digits in ownership, 4,800 and 4,700. I don't like him at all in this spot. Derek White in double digits, 4,500 on FanDuel, 4,100 on DK. He's been bad, really bad so far this season. He stands out a little bit to me because I'm treating him as better than a 0.7 fantasy point per minute guy. And then Bryn Forbes, 19% on FanDuel, 13 on DK. He's just, he's a guy on the slate.
That's the thing with the Spurs. All those guys, they're high teens, low 20s in minutes, not super high usage, not really. They just don't, yes, they all are playing the Cavaliers, clearly. And that helps each and every person. But it's hard to get excited about any of them. I guess if I had to pick one of the three, for me, it would be White, but I don't really want to do that.
Neither do I. Especially because if DeJounte Murray is picking up additional minutes, who's losing them?
It's coming at the expense of guys like that. I don't know if it'll be one. Do you think those minutes will come and one guy will kind of just like fall out of the rotation to a large extent, or will it be mitigated and dispersed amongst a handful, do you think?
I would guess it's probably just like everybody loses one.
Yeah, that's very possible.
Seems very Spursy.
Yeah, and that makes it even more difficult with these guys because it would be easier if one guy just got straight eliminated and then you could, say, okay, we can omit him and now these other guys at least have a better opportunity out there. But that doesn't seem to be the case.
Getting the Spurs right today is probably going to be the key to everything.
This game of the 4, I think, it's a 10-point spread. Getting this game right, hoping that it's not, I'm not going to worry about a blowout. You don't want to see that, especially if you're targeting them. It's going to be important. Murray's one of the more polarizing guys on the slate. People, I almost wish that game didn't go to overtime, because people see that and I think they're going to be, 32, and he's going to be very popular. Maybe it would be a little tempered if we saw 27 minutes in that last game.
That being able to be a number that starts with a 3 is going to be very important for his ownership.
Yep. And I don't know if everyone realizes the game went to overtime.
Right. Oh, do we have to really talk about the Cavs now? So
allegedly,
ownership is coming all over the place in this one. Tristan Thompson is at 15 on DK. Love at 25. Sexton at 18, Clarkson at 13, Kevin Porter at 19. On FanDuel, Jordan Clarkson's getting 20%. Tristan Thompson's at 9. He is my favorite play from the Cavs, so this is craziness. Chetty still exists. He was 3,300 yesterday. He stank, and they bumped him $500, so still stinks. I'll still be playing him because I think that for $3,800, there's not a lot of value to be found. What stands out most to you from this Cleveland Cavaliers squad?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're going to get, as you mentioned, guys like Jordan Clarkson and Kevin Porter are going to be, especially with Wanamaker, say he's not a factor. These are where people are going to pay down to unlock some of the salary. They're going to be popular, taking a lot of shots. They're going to see some minutes. They can blow these price tags out of the water with an effective game, but it's not just, it's still not a great spot. What I wanted to ask you though, is there any chance that Kevin Love sits in this game? And a back-to-back, this would be 3 out of 4.
I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
Because then, I mean, Larry Nance, of course, would be immediately elevated to a really solid game. That was my one thing, just looking over the slate with Kevin Love in particular.
Yeah, if Kevin Love is out, Larry Nance. So here's the worst part for me. I have Larry Nance as my second best play on DraftKings from this team right now with Kevin Love in. That's
Okay.
because there's no value out there, and at 4,100 for 22 minutes, like that's the shot that I'm going to take. Yeah, if Love is out, Larry Nance is going to play 28 to 30 minutes and be the no-brainer top value on the slate. Probably would be behind Wanamaker if both those guys ended up out, but you would want to get a lot of Larry Nance if Kevin Love happened to sit for this one.
Yeah, that's so what are you doing? I know your boy from last night. What are you doing with Chetty?
Well, I'm knocking his minutes back down. I had him at 30 yesterday. He played 19 and change. I can't project him for 30 at this point. The rotation yesterday was bonkers, to say the least. That game was close. Tristan Thompson played 33 minutes. Love played 32. Sexton played 29. Porter played 29. Clarkson played 29. Garland played 22. Chetty played 19. Larry Nance played 17. Actually, probably need to knock Larry Nance's minutes back. He's been under 20 in his last 3. I just don't know what to make of this Cleveland team. Like, they play the weirdest people. I don't know who to give some of these minutes to. Everybody stinks. Tristan Thompson's the guy I like the most from this team, full stop. Like, his minutes aren't going anywhere. He's priced in the mid-6s. It's not like he has to really worry all that much about someone like LaMarcus Aldridge or Jake Puddle. So I think I'd feel most comfortable with Tristan Thompson.
The only thing with him, it's an opportunity cost to an extent that he's, a center, and there's a lot of good centers on this slate.
Oh, for sure. Let me see what's around him.
The thing with the Cavs, it seems like, just looking at it, that they're so young and they're so bad. They're just kind of searching. And Chad just pointed this out, and I agree. Someone like Kevin Porter, he got going, and they're going to write, like, these minutes are not, they're so in flux based on the game flow, not just blowout game flow, but just who's playing, who can get going. Makes it so hard to project them. But at the same time, when we're talking about tournaments and whatnot, it's also a spot where you can embrace a lot of different scenarios and they can come to fruition.
So Tristan Thompson at 6,100, I think looks fine, but you've got Larry Nance at 4,100, depending on how you feel there. You've got Tice at 4K, which you have to prefer from a pay down option here. But, 15% Tristan Thompson here is probably worth a look. Spurs defense, 5% worse than average over their last 30. It's there. It's Thompson. It's probably Kevin Porter, who I gave 24 minutes. And then best of luck to you in figuring out the grab bag after that, whether that's Sexton or Garland or Clarkson. Like, all those guys are grading out as basically the same for me.
Yeah, I'll let ownership probably tell the tale to an extent if we start seeing stark differences, because I don't see a huge, projectable difference in some of those Cavs type, flyers, I guess you could call them.
Relative to salary, I have Sexton, Nance, Clarkson, Chetty and Garland all as essentially the exact same player, which is not at all where I want to be.
Yeah, I'm similar for me. And this is assuming, of course, Kevin Love is all good. I'm a little more worried about Nance than you are, I think.
I just knocked him down to 20 minutes. He's less interesting.
Yeah, I think that maybe what we see, I think Chetty could take some, and we'll see. And then just looking at Tristan Thompson, he is probably the most secure, but I've already mentioned someone like Al Horford right in that price range. Yeah. You could pay down, and certainly we know you could pay up to the big boys.
Oh, I hope news comes out for Cleveland just to make it slightly easier.
Yep, I agree. If there's one spot, I would much rather have news here than news in Boston.
Agreed. All right, 2 games in. So perfect opportunity for you guys to hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. Coming up later today, Laffy and Sal will be talking a little NFL at 11 a.m., so 45 minutes from now. Ben, what time are you and Alex talking Showdown?
So the boss man had a slight scheduling thing. We are going on at 1:30 Eastern today. So that time will be adjusted on the schedule.
Jets Ravens. Woo!
Nothing gets the blood pumping like Jets Ravens and the 2 touchdown spread. So yeah, we will be talking Showdown later this afternoon.
Yeah, that might get the blood never flowing again, given that game.
It's not good.
Flex that out of Thursday. Damn.
He should be they should just rest him. That's the story. You'll hear me ranting about that in the game, but they're during that show. So we'll see.
Who's the backup quarterback?
RG3.
That's fun.
Like they don't need, like he's a little banged up. Just rest him. Yep. Like you're gonna win this game. You don't need him out there taking shots.
Super true. What's the line?
It's 15.5, I think.
What do you think that line moves to if they start RG3?
9.5.
Yeah, that's why you said him.
Something like that. I mean, I'm not good at that game, but I will say I just try to think of a spread. If it was 9.5 with RG3, I would have, I could factor in both sides. Like if it was still around 14, I would obviously back the Jets. And if it was less than like a touchdown, clearly I would back the Ravens. So, yeah.
Interesting. So you guys will have that show at 1:30. Jake will have his NHL strategy show at 4. Alex will have the game plan show behind the paywall at 4 as well. And then we've got a late lock. Celtics Sixers starts at 8. So at 6 p.m. Eastern, deeper dive. Laffy and Alex. Alex is going to be covering for Ship My Money in this one. And then at 7 o'clock, you'll get Fast Eddie Fear and Chris Spags taking you all the way up to 8. Exciting stuff, guys.
Not bad.
2 more games to go. Detroit Pistons, Dallas Mavericks. Pistons 107.75 implied total. 5-point underdogs at home against the Mavs. Start on that Detroit side. Nothing super duper interesting here. At least not that I can tell. I like Drummond and Blake Griffin. That should be no surprise. Blake Griffin 7,100 on FanDuel, 6,700 on DK. Neither one of these guys getting a ton of ownership. As I mentioned before, basically everybody is just around 20%. It's really hard for anybody to break free. Only other guy I have some interest in would be Luke Kennard, 5,300 on FanDuel, 5,500 on DK. He's just sort of a guy. Bruce Brown's at 15% ownership on FanDuel. Tony Snell at the flat minimum at 10%. Derrick Rose around 10%. I don't really like any of those 3 guys. I kind of just want to focus on Drummond, Blake, and Kennard.
Yeah, I mean, so the way I'm approaching the Pistons, I'm with you. The Drummond, Blake, guys I'm actively targeting. If I have lineups, I need someone, in that middling price tag that especially for a stability standpoint, and it's Kennard and he fits, I could live with that. Rose to a lesser extent, but the same concept. I'm not actively looking to get them in my lineups, but I'm not going to start changing things if they're the last piece and it fits. But obviously the question I think you have to ask on this slate is, do you have Drummond ahead of Embiid or slightly behind or somewhat comparable?
I have Embiid slightly ahead of Drummond. 0.6 of a fantasy point, slightly higher chance of hitting his target score, and $100 cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, again, ownership will tell the tale, and it also this game's in Mexico City. I'm not factoring that in. The altitude, I don't know what to make of it, but it is worth noting.
Totally forgot about that. And what's really funny is I looked that up and to confirm it just before this. It's still on my screen, and I'll dragging it over right now. Still had this schedule over here.
Yeah, I didn't know it, and then I saw it this morning. I was like, oh, well then, okay. So there you go.
As long as the arena doesn't catch on fire.
Yeah, let's not have that happen. Yeah, it's good for them. Like I said, I'm not really factoring that in.
That can't be good for Drummond, right?
No, it's definitely not good. It is I come from the stadium Azteca, but like every time soccer teams play down there, they complain about the altitude.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the Pistons side of this is like really not all that interesting. To me, it's just Drummond, Blake, and Kennard. And more importantly, just Drummond and Blake. Like I can't advocate for Bruce Brown and Christian Wood and Tony Snell. Gross.
No, those guys, and I know we keep saying this, but it's worth repeating. As more and more value opens up, they will be leapfrogged by those guys and be pushed down. If nothing opens up, you may be forced into shares of these type of guys, and it's going to feel uncomfortable. But as more value opens up, they will become less needed.
On the Dallas side, DeLon Wright is likely out. I want to make sure I get the quote correct. DeLon Wright is very, very questionable, but it's not impossible. But I'm just assuming that he's not going to play. I kept him out. So we've got Luka at 11.8 on FanDuel, 11.4 on DK. Pretty popular, 30 to 40% owned. Similar story for Kristaps Porzingis at 7,600 and 6,400. I think $6,400 Kristaps Porzingis against the Pistons is one of the best plays of the day. Second favorite center behind Tice. And you guys obviously understand the difference between those two sorts of things. But I have Porzingis as my fifth best play overall today.
Yeah, I mean, that price, quite good. Someone that it's going to be a staple of my lineups too. And it's just going to be interesting because when I'm visualizing my favorite guys, you have him, you have Horford, you have guys in that mid-range, it's starting to be a more balanced build. And I don't know with the lack of value, if I can build like that and then jam in Luka like I would love to do. Mm-hmm. That could be an opportunity cost. And I can say for fairly certain, if I do build balance and I want to jam Luka, well, then there's no way I'm getting Embiid or Drummond on those teams. And that is a decision you're going to have to make right now with how we currently sit.
It's going to be tricky. A couple more things that we need to point out here. One, do you think that Boban sees additional minutes here because of Andre Drummond?
Because of it's a revenge narrative? No.
Just because Andre Drummond is a big gentleman that doesn't shoot threes.
That's true. No, I think that is very possible. Yes, clearly possible. And I think it's something to consider. The problem I have with Boban is that the floor is so bad.
The floor is zero. The floor is he does not play.
That's what I'm saying. And it's Boban, and that is a thing. I know it's hard to quantify. It's impossible to quantify, but people love this guy. And I think he gets an artificial boost because of that. The game log, you see the old, 4 points, 42 points. Just that's how Boban rolls. I don't know what to make of it. I really don't think I'm going to go there, though, too often. Are you?
I gave him 6 minutes. That's about the best I can do. Now I need to point out the guy that I'm really interested in. So, yeah. And look, if you like Tim Hardaway or Dwight Powell or something like that, those guys are obviously fine. So if DeLon Wright is out, JJ Barea played 19 minutes in their most recent game. He played in the back-to-back. I put JJ Barea in for 18 minutes again. He is $3,700 on FanDuel and $100 more than the minimum on DraftKings. I definitely want to play JJ Barea on this particular slate. The way that it's constructed right now, if he really is 3,100 and can play 18 minutes.
I thought you were going to say Seth Curry.
I would rather have Barea than Curry.
Interesting. Where do you have Curry's minutes?
I gave Curry 20.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that similar, if Barea can get close to that, both of them are going to be value where you can pay down. Again, I don't know exactly what I want to do here, to be honest, because I have a feeling that there's going to be some obvious value. But I will say, if obvious value opens up, the opportunity to pivot to one of these two in particular could be pretty significant in terms of an ownership discount. Like if for some reason Wanamaker is, the clear value, if it opened up and he's 65% owned, you're going to get a fraction of that on comparable salaries. Now, of course, the projection is going to be lower, but you could justify that in a situation like this. I think I lean Curry over Barea personally, though.
Okay. So in that most recent game where he got 18, he played 7 minutes in the second quarter, and then he played essentially the entire fourth quarter. They were getting blown out when that started. They went on a 16-2 run and cut the lead to 108-106. So, and for, I don't know, all of the time that JJ Barea has been in Dallas, he has been like a plus-minus monster. They're always better when he is on the floor. He just happens to be old. He played that fourth quarter with essentially Luka for all of that run, Porzingis, Dorian Finney-Smith, Tim Hardaway Jr. He basically closed. And that is what's appealing to me. It's not like they came back and it was him and Courtney Lee and Justin Jackson and Maxey. Like, JJ Barea closed with Luka, Porzingis, DFS, and they got back in this game.
Yeah, I mean, if that's an indication, and that would be certainly a boost, and that's an interesting thing. I'll be honest, Barea is not someone who was even remotely kind of on my radar. I kind of glossed over, and because the minutes, high teens, even if he gets that, I think you could justify it at the cost. I'm just not sure you'll have to, but those are important minutes, and if he is worked into those type of game scripts, that could be something. I mean, still, of course, I know we're talking totally different salaries. Porzingis, Luka, these are guys that, I'm going to get exposure to Dallas easily with their premier players. I didn't really envision getting, salary savers with the Mavericks today, but that could open up a different type of build and one I haven't really explored just yet.
I didn't want today to be a JJ Barea day, but here we are.
I didn't think it was going to be, but look at that.
Look, it's a testament to how little there is in like the sub 4K range. It's just not out there.
No, it's not. I mean, you're going to have to choose, most likely, depending, on, unless you're going really balanced, you're going to have to force in, we mentioned the Pistons guys that, the Browns of the world and guys that I don't really like. You're going to have to make a choice of one of these type of guys if you're looking to pay up for the big boys here. So I guess, yeah, I mean, you're not going to feel great about any of them. And if you do, it's going to be because of the clear, obvious value, whether it's Wanamaker or Nance or someone like that. And then everyone's doing it.
Given the makeup of the slate right now, I have Barea's target score at 27 DK points. That seems highly attainable for right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a weird... I'll tell you what, for a 4-game slate, and I know most slates have a lot of intrigue, but this one, I do like the way it sets up from like a puzzle and game theory standpoint, just because you have the polarizing guy in Luka, you have some really good centers, and then it's like a weird drop to the Kembas and Ben Simmons of the world. I like the options it gives you, and it's about finding that right value, whether we can identify it. And then Murray, I think, is the other like key foundational piece that we have to explore.
All right. I don't have anything else for this Pistons Mavs game.
No, I mean, I just want to ask you, I know you mentioned you like you have like Porzingis over Blake on the other side.
Let's see. Porzingis is 6,400. Blake at 67. Yes, I would have Porzingis ahead of Blake. I think that I would. So here's what's really crazy. So I have Blake projected 1.5 higher than Kristaps Porzingis, but given Porzingis's makeup, he's got like a much bigger standard deviation than Blake Griffin does. So I have him way more likely to get to the target score they need. So in that regard, I'll get to more Porzingis, but I have Blake from a raw points perspective projected higher.
Yeah, and that's the stuff. That's where it comes down to lineup construction. Like if you have your last piece and you're looking for more stability relative term, I think Blake is someone, I think the lower range of outcomes on both sides. Porzingis could be the slate breaker, or, that floor may be a little lower. So, yeah, I agree.
Okay. Closing it out, late night hammer, Denver Nuggets, Portland Trailblazers. Nugs, 6-point favorites at home. One thing to point out, I want to make sure I get the status correct. Jamal Murray is listed as questionable. He intends to play. He mentioned that in an Instagram post. He's got a trunk contusion. Don't know what the hell that means. And then Paul Millsap has some left foot soreness. He is listed as questionable. I have both of these guys in. If Murray is out, fire up Monty Morris. If Paul Millsap is out, take a closer look at Jeremy Grant and Mason Plumlee. But for right now, I just have it as the starters. If I'm pointing out guys that I like most, $4,500 Gary Harris on FanDuel is the first guy that I look at. That is just because of how little value exists. I'm happy to go to Jokic at 8,800 on FanDuel. I don't love him nearly as much at the 9K price tag on DraftKings. But Jamal Murray, pretty clearly my favorite DK Nugget. 6,500. Got him in for 33 minutes. I've got him projected for 35 fantasy points. Murray is the guy that I want to grab from Denver as of right now.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what he does with, the status. He said he intends to play. I'm on the other Q tag guy. I like Millsap. Sub 5K, mellow, no good. And, if he gets his minutes right back to where they were, I think he can be another piece of a balanced build. You mentioned Gary Harris, just pretty steady production, pretty steady minutes.
So bad.
He's not great, but with the lack of value until stuff opens up, these are guys that you're going to be forced to. And then, I mean, the matchup at center is really interesting. Whiteside's been playing really well. Joker, I think for most people, is going to be behind Drummond and Embiid. Do you think that's a fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Although, ownership-wise, Drummond at 21, Embiid at 18, Jokic at 26 right now. So maybe not as obvious as it seems to me. I would have Jokic behind both on DraftKings.
Same.
On FanDuel, I think it's a different story. Just because Drummond's 10.6, Embiid is 10K. Jokic is $100 cheaper than Hassan Whiteside. With so little money out there, I think it's a lot easier to get to Jokic. He's also the chalkiest center on FanDuel.
And yeah, that's where, of course, whether you're playing on Yahoo, FanDuel, or DraftKings, price sensitivity. So we'll see. With these are the other Q tags. What do you make of Lillard? He's the guy that I think is interesting. He's kind of I know it's only 4 games, but to me, he's almost in a dead range because people are going to want to pay, Simmons or Kemba. And if they don't, I feel like they spend that money on Luka or the centers. I'm not sure how many people want to go to Lillard at this price tag in a bad matchup.
Yeah, so he's sort of in a dead range for me, too. He's just sort of like a guy at 9K or 8,500. I assume that I would be right around where we're projecting the field right now, about 20%. He doesn't jump off the page. He still looks like a really nice value. Clearly has immense upside. I just don't, he's not showing up as a monstrous value. Now, I will say this much. I haven't gotten much Damian Lillard all year. I don't think that he's been a highly variant player lately, and I think that's slowing him down from getting into my lineups and GPPs. Clearly showing up today. But I would be more likely to go to probably CJ, just given the positions, than Dame today. On FanDuel, I'm more likely to be going to like Bazemore or Melo and trying to pay up for like other guys at different positions. I'm a little bit less enamored with Lillard there, but like I think Melo is my favorite guy on FanDuel from the Blazers. So yeah, this is a show in 2019, just in case anybody is curious. I could hold up a newspaper if those were still things, but yeah, Carmelo Anthony is my favorite Blazer play on FanDuel today. What?
Yeah, boy.
5,800 on both sites.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to play Melo, it would certainly be over there. Don't know though. I think I'll probably get away from him, particularly on DraftKings. He's going back. He played for the Nuggets for a long time, but I don't really have interest. Like Will Barton is coming off a monster game. I'm not going to really be chasing that too much.
No.
Yeah, I mean, to me, what do you make of I know I mentioned him. Do you have any feel on Millsap, or you're kind of indifferent?
In terms of whether he plays or not, or like how I feel about him today?
No, if he does play.
It's a new injury.
Yeah.
He's not on a back-to-back. I'd be surprised if he didn't play. Like I have him in. I don't really see a way around that. That information will be really important in that 7 to 8 o'clock window. There's a decent chance we don't know it. So going in on FanDuel, we have Millsap projected for 6% ownership. It's not that I think that he's some sort of fantastic play, but if people avoid him because of the Q tag, could be an interesting time to either take a stand on Millsap or the opposite, take a stand on someone like Jeremy Grant to try to get a little bit more. Like, where do we have Grant? Jeremy Grant at 9% ownership right now, and then Millsap at 6%. So like,
yeah,
on FanDuel, I would probably just want to take a stand on one of them a bit more aggressively than that.
And I think that's fair. For me, that's a spot where you can get significant leverage if that ownership holds on Millsap. And even if he is, say the minutes are down or he's ineffective, okay, it's a flesh wound. Like I like that in a 4. You're not going to get that many opportunities to do that on a 4-gamer. And for me, matchup is great if he's okay. And that's a big if, but I'm going to try to probably take a stand there, and it can open up some salary at that price tag.
Yeah, I mean, 2 nights ago, Millsap played 28.5 minutes. If you get that right now, you're going to want him in way more than 6% of the FanDuel lineups, that's for sure. On DraftKings, this isn't much of a question. Like, you can play whatever you want to do. Millsap, prioritize Millsap, and if you have to get him out, you can just drop to $3,900 Jeremy Grant. Don't really have much to worry about there.
Yep.
So, if you're on the fence with those sorts of guys, default to Paul Millsap.
Yeah, and again, that's a whole different, I guess, show, for lack of a better term, about risk tolerance. Like with no lates, you can, if you want to take the shot. Now, if you get it right, you're going to get a significant, bump, but you also could just be straight eliminated. So
I don't know.
I like to do things like that.
Same.
What?
I don't know. I do. I like to do it too. And every time I do, I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, that comes with the territory, especially with me, but that's neither here nor there. That won't deter me from making YOLO type Paul Millsap stands.
I'm like 0 for my last 15 on having really big stands on questionable guys, and those guys just being fucking out right out of the gate.
Yeah, that's not a good feeling.
No. It's not good.
He's not a must-have. That's true, Chad.
No, Millsap is not a must-have. Not at all. No. Even if he's in, he's not.
No, absolutely not. What do you do? There's one other guy I wanted to ask you. We talked about him just briefly. There's so many good centers. Whiteside has been rolling. Yeah. Are you going to chase that? Do you like him just on his own merit? I'm not really there.
I don't think I'll have much at all. Of everyone from Carmelo Anthony in salary all the way up to Luka, Whiteside is my least favorite guy in that entire range. That's 23 players. On DK, or on FanDuel rather, I would much rather have Jokic $100 cheaper, or I would much rather just pay up more for Embiid or Drummond. Whiteside is my least favorite center of the day. Now, that's not to say that he can't just go out there and play really well.
No.
He still looks good. It's just that Jokic, Embiid, and Drummond just happen to look better.
And then there's, for me, viable, Tristan Thompson, Tice. There are others. The opportunity cost is immense on both sides. For me, when talking about Whiteside, I just have so many other guys I would rather put in, whether it's to take savings or to be a staple of where I'm actually spending up.
Whiteside's going to smash a 1.43 FanDuel points per minute over his last 30 days. That is 0.15 higher than Jokic, and he's $900 cheaper.
I'm still not there, though. If Whiteside smashes tonight, that is not something I was ever getting to, so easy enough for me to just lose.
Works for me. All right, let's sum it up. Favorite guys for DraftKings today, and then I'll give everybody my FanDuel thoughts.
So for me, it's actually mostly mid-range guys. We're gonna go. We got Al Horford. I really like him. So DeAndre, Murray is gonna be someone that's very popular, I think, and it's hard for me to say I don't like him though. And then obviously we're going to monitor the news, but Paul Millsap is someone that I think I'm going to take a somewhat stand on and get leverage. We'll pair them with one of the premier centers. We're going to see. I'm going to try to get as much Luka as I can in my builds, and then see what I'm left with and what value opens up in terms of these questionable guys, in the cheapies we talked about.
Okay. Point guard for me on FanDuel is going to start with Jamal Murray. If we get any additional information, his brother DeJounte Murray will be one of my faves as well. Shooting guard, gonna need a little bit more information on Jay Rich, but for now, Gary Harris, Josh Richardson is my preferred combination. That is not a comfortable sentence to say, but if you don't like it, don't pay up. Small forward, probably my favorite spot, ignoring center since that's just a one and done. Give me some Jaylen Brown, give me some Gordon Hayward, Melo, Kent Bazemore, Kevin Porter at all the way down at 4K. That's certainly viable. Power forward is going to be Porzingis, Blake Griffin, Daniel Tice. And then center, I'll only have 5 guys in my player pool, or at least I only have 5 as of right now. That's Drummond, Embiid, Whiteside, Jokic, Thompson. And in that case, Whiteside's dead last. I'm preferring Jokic over all of them.
Thompson. So you know Cantor over there?
No Cantor. For right now, no.
Okay.
That could easily change if we get a little bit more information. Luckily, that game is first, so if we somehow got word that Cantor started, Cantor at 3,800 would certainly need a bit of a look.
Okay, no Canton, no Boban. I'm just looking for other I'm in the same bucket right now as you.
Melo favorite play. Come on, Josh. Guys, it's a 4-game slate.
It's true. And
he's 5,800 on FanDuel, and I have to play 2 small forwards.
No respect. Well, one of us will get Melo right, because like I said, I'm not a huge fan, but we're also coming at it from 2 different primary. I know you're seeing a little more FanDuel lens on DraftKings lens, but
the Melo on DraftKings is a much different play. I'm way less interested on FanDuel than I am on DraftKings, or I'm way less interested on DraftKings than I am on FanDuel. You have to play 2 small forwards one way or the other. So on a 4-gamer, you're going to be getting a lot of these dudes one way or the other. I'm going to run a DraftKings crunch just to see what my optimal comes out on, because I have no concept of what that's going to be, and then we can get out of here. All right, so 1 unique, 0 randomness. I don't know what projections are in here right now, but let's tweak that a little bit. I have a feeling this is going to be the most disgusting optimal in the history of optimals.
It's possible. So, yeah, I mean...
Israel Williams just said, I like when you're pissed, Josh. You tend to be more focused and helpful.
That's what we do. We rile them up before the show.
Yeah, I would have
Wow.
assumed that was the opposite, but I'm not pissed at all. All right, here we go. I'm gonna run 50 lineups, just one unique, no randomness. This is just my 50 best. Boy,
Chetty Osman.
a lot of Kevin Porter though. I need a different. Your favorite play was Chetty Osman yesterday. Enough said. Yeah, no, he wasn't. I had 90% Eric Bledsoe yesterday. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that was my favorite play.
What about that other 10% though?
Why didn't? Yeah, I'm such a fish for not having him in 100.
You gotta make a stand, bro.
94% Jamal Murray is the highest owned guy. The optimal only 264.7, which is hysterical. Barea, DeRozan, Luka, Tice, Porzingis, Gary Harris, Blake Griffin, Jamal Murray. That's the optimal.
Okay. JJ Barea season for you. I mean,
look, as of right now, the way the slate looks, I like it just because he's 3,100.
Listen, it's four. I know we keep saying this, but it's 4 games. Like, if you make a lineup with all guys that are somewhat, pretty obviously viable, well, you're going to be duped. You're not going to have leverage. You're not going to have path to victory. You're going to have to change something up. You have to try to create leverage where you can. JJ Barea is one way to do that. I don't think, clearly not the only way to do it, but you need to find something, whether you're trying to exploit the Q tags, you're finding, with someone like the spots where we have questions. Richardson comes to mind. Murray comes to mind. Both Murrays honestly come to mind. If you can anticipate maybe what we see minutes wise or usage wise, those are the spots that we can take advantage of. And then obviously trying to get it right is, that's the other part, which is a little more difficult.
Yeah, where's the first non-Barea lineup? Murray, Porter Jr., DeRozan, Tice, Aldridge, Lillard, Porzingis, Blake. Other than having DeRozan and Aldridge, which I don't totally mind just because it's the Cavs. Interesting. Jackoff says Josh's projections tend to always be lower than Alex's. It's actually not true. Yesterday, I believe of everybody in our pools, we were separated by 7 total points in the full scope of everything. That's 7 across like 180 people total. We're pretty much the same. Every projection system should be pretty close to each other at this point in time in the NBA.
That's why it's a whole different. The NBA, most people know I'm more of a golf person. Like, you couldn't have 2 more different DFS sports. Like, but that's important to understand. Like I said, if you play multiple sports, not to go on a tangent, but like, you've got NFL, you've got NBA, you've got golf and other things. You can't take the same process into those sports. It just doesn't work like that. So keep that in mind.
It's really hard for Alex and I to be different by more than 3 fantasy points on someone, unless it's simply just I have him at 28 minutes and he has him at 20. If we have comparable minutes projections, those projections are going to be within 2 either direction. It's really hard not to be. We have too much information. If you use a projection source that is like wildly different from somewhere else, I can feel pretty confident that they're probably worse in the long run.
Yeah, there's not that many like hidden aspects of projectable things like that. Minutes is the variable.
Yep.
And you get into injuries, and that's again with this slate where we could possibly take advantage. But if you guys had the same minutes projected for the guy, it would be pretty hard to have a wild differentiation. I don't know what would even cause that because,
I have no idea. Yeah. I have no idea.
No.
Well, 10:51. I think we've got it. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank Ben for joining me on this lovely show. No Adam, so we certainly improved it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. We've got Laffy and Sal coming up just after this, about 9 minutes. Ben, anything else? Anything you have to plug?
No, like I said, 1:30 Eastern, me and Alex will be breaking down Jets Ravens showdown. A lot of money up for grabs. It's bowl season. If we got college football people watching the show, I will be writing up things. I will be in Slack as I always am. My favorite betting thing of the year, that March Madness. I love betting the bowl season. I'll be doing plenty of that, and there's going to be some great DFS slates. So stop on by. As always, we'd love to have you part of the community.
There you go, guys. Thank you very much. One last time, hit that like button. Got plenty of content coming out for the rest of the day, so check it all out. Oh, one thing I didn't hit on that most of you probably didn't know. NBA rankings are free today, NFL showdown projections, and NHL projections. Check out all three of those things if you want. That's it, guys. Best of luck. We're out of here.